evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of our viewers. I am Ananya, the youth representative of the Environment Initiative in Australia, and today we're going to unfold a very fascinating story of another eco yogi, Brother Golo, who's been living in India, who's been engaged with the Brahma Kumaris for last 37 years and has been working in renewable energy for last 25 years. So it's a wonderful story that he has, and he's been spreading environment awareness at international platforms, be it UN climate change conferences and various other platforms. So, welcome, brother. Om Shanti.
Thank
Good
you.
evening.
Om Shanti. Good evening.
From what I know about your background, that you were a carpenter and a builder. And it's just a curious question that how did you go from being a carpenter to becoming this person, being so involved with the renewable energy that you are now? So, can you explain a little bit about that transformation?
First of all, thanks very much for the invitation and the opportunity to share some insights in this interview. When I came to India 1985 for the first time, I noticed that there's a lot of need for energy. A lot of deforestation was going on. People were using the last trees, the last bushes to fire, to create fire, to cook and to do this and that things. And I thought, what a wonderful idea it would be to bring renewable energies to India. At that time, you know, there was no formal education on environmental technologies or this and that. Most of the people who were working in renewable energies, they were self-made people, and they were sort of coming from different areas. And I was in construction. I learned first carpentry and then building houses, wooden houses, and constructing all sorts of things. So I was in building, and building things is sort of in my blood. And then you just swap a little bit and you start building solar cooker, or you bring in some first technology. So in 1990, we actually started 1993, I think we started, I started to build up a experimental building out of mud bricks. It's like a greenhouse, and looks a little bit like a hobbit house with arches and pretty round and made out of mud bricks, means natural construction material. And we asked the German government to fund us a small wind solar hybrid system for rural application. And we got a sanction from the German government. We applied. I came in contact with some scientists. They told me how to do it in the best way. And so one came to the other, and we set up a small wind generator, a photovoltaic system. Then later I set up a solar hot water system. And I also equipped the building with thermal insulation, all the good features modern buildings actually should have nowadays. And the building was quite successful. The little project was quite successful. And from there onwards, step by step, we introduced solar cooking systems for institutions based on a parabolic dish. It's the Scheffler dish. And we built them together, and then we started generating steam, send it down into the kitchen. We introduced solar photovoltaic at the institution in the early 90s. That was quite something new in those days. And now Brahma Kumaris is a registered research organization with the government in India. We have equipped hundreds of our meditation centers in India with solar photovoltaic, with solar hot water systems. And we run lots of solar cooking systems. We can cook 30,000 meals per day by the power of sun. And here in the Gyan Sarovar campus where I am, we have 300 kilowatt of photovoltaic, and we have big batteries, and we supply electricity to our campus, and some small portion we feed in also into the electrical grid. So we went step by step, and it was rather like a natural transformation from a builder to a solar guy.
That's wonderful. That's amazing. And you were the person who actually introduced solar energy to this organization in India. And this is a lovely thing that you shared about how it was a natural transformation. So I've also heard that it took you a little bit of time to convince Dadi Prakashmani, who was the spiritual leader of this organization at that time. And so, what do you think made her come around at the end about having solar energy in the organization? So, can you share a little bit of story about that?
I'm not sure where you heard that, because actually, Brahma Kumaris is administrated by women. And I always find our senior sisters, that we call them lovingly the daddies, and they were 90, 100, 103. Daddy Janki left the body. She died last year. She was 103. I always found our daddies very open to the idea of using solar power for the institution and make use of it, because yogis try to live in harmony with nature, and solar power is a very practical application where you harness in a very harmonious way the power of the sun, and you make it available. And in India, the sun, Surya, is a deity. So to use the power of a deity to cook your food is always something which goes very easy in a spiritual organization. And the daddies were always very open. There were more problems in the level below when it comes to practical questions. You need land, you need space, you need funds, you have to transfer the technology from wherever it is to India. You have to create a team, and then you have to build the whole thing, run it, and maintain it. So one of the first problems, of course, is to get space, because space is always a bit an issue, because everybody wants space, and all these departments here in our spiritual campuses, we have about 30 departments. They want space for this, they want space for that. So when I come and says, hey, I need some 500 square meter rooftop space, then of course you have to convince people. And that was more the difficult part, not our daddies. The daddies were very, very supportive, and they were wise women, you can say, and supported the idea actually from the beginning. So it was a blessing, I could say, from above, from the divine, but also wholehearted support by our daddies. And that made actually the success story possible. And now Brahma Kumaris probably is the biggest institutional user of renewable energies in India right now.
That's very inspirational to hear. And what you said about that this organization is always led by women. And that's part of the success story, that how welcoming daddies were. So that's lovely. Another thing, brother, that when I hear that you've been in practicing and teaching this meditation for last 37 years, I just want to know what made you fascinated by this meditation, what made you practice this lifestyle, and what was that something that you felt that, this is the right thing, and you've been with it for such a long time. So can you share a bit about that?
Well, when I came when I came to the institution, this was in the mid 80s. In Germany we had a phenomenon that was called Waldsterben, or the dying of the forest by acid rain, and people were very, very concerned about nature, about the forest, because Germany is covered to a great extent by forest. But there was also a lot of tension between East and West, and Germany was at the front line. And we had a lot of missiles from Germany, not German missiles, American missiles going to the east, and missiles from the east pointing to the west. So it was a very turbulent time in the 80s, and I always felt some transformation is in the air, something is going to happen, and some transformation is going to take place. And when I came in contact with the Brahma Kumaris, I heard about the concept of time that we teach here. It's about the cycle of time, that time is running in a cyclic manner, and that we are now in a dark age, or in an iron age, as the Greeks said it, or in India they call it the age of Kali. And we're heading into a new age and a bright future, a very wonderful future. Christianity calls it paradise. The Greek called it the golden age, and in India it's called Sat Yuga, the age of truth. And this idea fascinated me because it made click in my mind. And I said, yes, we're heading to a new bright future. And because we're heading into a new bright future, the old, which is happening now, which is, as we all can see, is not sustainable at all. Our lifestyle, our way, economics, how we treat nature, how we exploit natural resources, nothing is really sustainable. And climate change is a direct result of that non-sustainable lifestyle. So when I came in contact with the Brahma Kumaris and I got introduced to this concept of this cycle of time and that a wonderful time is coming, it made click, and I said, yes, that's it. And that gave me a lot of hope, enthusiasm, and keeps me going since the last 37 years. And I never sort of gave up, on my spiritual, let's say, dharna, that this means on my spiritual behavior or my exercises. And I always look forward in my heart. I know we're heading towards a new, better world, and there is a big transformation going on. And this gives resilience, hope, and strength. And when we look out, we see that these ingredients become more and more important nowadays because situation becomes more and more dramatic. I witnessed in Australia 2 years ago, I was 5 times or 4 times in Australia. I saw the fires in the Blue Mountains, and I witnessed, I even downloaded a software where you can see exactly where's the fire, because we have a retreat place in the Blue Mountains. And I thought, wow, hopefully the fire will not engulf the retreat place. And luckily it stopped half a kilometer before the retreat place. They could stop the fire. So you had big fires in Australia, which is a sign of climate change, and you have now flooding. And so people are suffering and experience the effects of climate change. So meditation and spirituality creates hope, creates resilience, and that's something very, very needed right now in those days.
You've shared a beautiful recipe for positivity, which is hope, enthusiasm, and that keeps you going. And I think you've already covered this a little bit in your answer, but from what you were sharing previously, that when you started this project of renewable solar energy, there were some hurdles, and it's obvious that there are challenges everywhere. But what keeps your determination going? What keeps you determined?
Well, I'm a I'm a tough nut, to come as a to come as a German to India and do projects here is not an easy task. In Germany, you're brought up in a very sort of straightforward society. 1 + 1 is 2 in Germany, and there's no discussion about it. In India, you say 1 + 1, and they say it is 2, maybe, and they shake their head, and you think, wow, what does he mean? Does he mean he's doing it right now, or he's not doing it? It took me some years to decipher the different culture and the different mindset of people, and that here life is moving at a different pace, communication is at a different pace, and projects are handled in a different manner. It took me some years because I had to sort of change and adapt to the new country, to our sweet motherland, India. And so it was for me personally a personal journey of transformation, of adaptation. And that's not so easy, because you have to, the remedies or the methods in the West, they may not work here, So it was quite a bit of a challenge. And what helped me a lot, of course, was the spiritual background, was the regular practice of meditation, which sort of helped me when I was in a desperate situation and I thought, my God, that cannot be the truth. Then I meditated and I said, okay, it's not that bad. It's just a small thing. And the next day, it became very, very small, and then you can move forward. So meditation helped me a lot to adapt and to move ahead and transform and change myself.
And regular practice, as you said, that's something that I take with me. Regular practice, meditation, and that keeps you going and keeps you determined. Also, brother, we all are aware, and I'm sure the listeners know as well, that you represented Brahma Kumaris and given a lot of sessions and talks, even at the COP15 held in Copenhagen. And you've shared a lot on climate change at United Nations conferences and many other platforms. So I just want to ask you, what is it that keeps you motivated, and what is it that you like about the environment?
Well, you see, climate change is a major issue which we're all facing, and the situation is right now quite dramatic. Today is the good news that US has made a big push with Biden, and there was yesterday and day before yesterday was a big summit of the world leaders. I think 40 countries participated in that. The main culprits in the climate story, and they all agreed to raise up their targets to reduce carbon emissions, which is a good news. However, the bad news is we're a little bit late, you know. Because of various reasons, we lost almost 30 years of legislation because of industries and certain groups were lobbying and watering down any climate laws and legislation through the United Nations or the UNFCCC climate change conferences. So we are very, very late, and we have touched already a couple of tipping points. So tipping points means that the climate is now changing into a new equilibrium. It means ice will melt. Even if we stop today, immediately all emissions, the next 30 years, ice will melt at the same pace as it is melting now. It will even accelerate. The oceans will become warmer. The weather will change. So these are dramatic things which affect everybody. So this is the world around us, our habitat. This is the foundation on which we live, how we grow food, you know, how the rain comes regular. India depends very much on a regular monsoon, for example. If that is going to change, millions of people, billions of people will have their food security will be in jeopardy. So it's a question of the survival and the existence of humanity on this planet. It's concerning our very, very near future. So this is a major topic. So this interests me a lot. And of course, I was very much interested to bring a combination of science and spirituality towards the climate change conferences. We tried a lot of money, we tried a lot of technology, we tried a lot of strategy, and we tried a lot of projects and programs and ideas. And I participated since Copenhagen's 12 years ago in all climate conference, and every year some new ideas, some new things happened, and then a bit of a breakthrough in Paris with the Paris Climate Agreement, and where the states agreed to stay below 2 degrees or even 1.5 degree. The problem is the trend so far is negative in the other direction. So this is extremely important, and we have to bring out the message of hope, of a positive future. And the UNFCCC is a wonderful platform to meet people, to exchange ideas, and to bring in, to share also your ideas and your concepts. We share our technology with the world, but we would like also, we share also our spiritual approach with the world and our holistic worldview. And interestingly, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, people were thinking, oh, what are these funny spiritual people doing at the climate conference? We're going to fix this problem with a bit of money and technology. Now these people come and say, can you teach us meditation? We're a bit frustrated. We're a bit, you know, unhappy because we're not moving in the right direction. So these people are coming now to us, and we can see and feel that meditation, spirituality becomes more and more important, and people understand that we have to open up and think outside of the box. So it's almost like an adventure to go as a spiritual person to this climate conference. And I love adventures, you know, so that's, and I love challenges, you know. So this is one of the reasons I'm there at the climate conference. And it has been a wonderful experience because we have a Brahma Kumaris Environmental Initiative, and we are about 10 people, and we go there and meet our local center, and then together we organize programs, we meet NGOs, organizations, make projects with research organizations together, and participate inside the climate conference also. This is a wonderful opportunity, and I so far always was looking forward to the next year's conference. And as you might know, because of Corona, Glasgow conference has been postponed. Last year in UK, the UNFCCC climate conference, and now it's planned to be at the end of this year. But if it will be held in person is also not clear, because Corona is a very fluid dynamics. In India right now, we have a second wave, which is going to the roof, and the country is not prepared as such, and the hospitals are full, they run out of oxygen. And Australia has stopped flights from India just yesterday or 2 days ago. And so if conferences will in the near future will be possible in person, we'll have to see, you know. So we need fast action, that's for sure, to tackle the problem. And so we're using internet, we use meditation, we try to spread good vibrations in order to inspire people and reach out to these kind of mediums.
I really liked what you share, and sometimes you hear that opinion a lot, that what are, you know, spiritual practitioners and people who meditate doing in this sort of field. And so you've shared that the impacts of Brahma Kumaris or BK meditators in this arena. So that was lovely to hear, to bring that message of hope out. On that note, I'd also like to ask you that what is one project maybe or something that you've done so far that you feel most satisfied about, or you know, you feel good about, you know, one of the projects in this environmental field that really makes you happy?
Well, this is an interesting question you ask me. About 10 years ago, we had the idea to set up India One, a 1 megawatt solar thermal power stations, and friends to whom I spoke said, no, don't do it. It's too complicated. It's too much money, too much resources, and it's a very high-end project. Somehow the idea didn't leave me. It was like a touching from above. It was a blessing from above. And somehow we got 15 million US dollars funds from the German government, from the Indian government, and from the Brahma Kumaris. We got a huge land. We're talking of 200,000 square meters land, like 4 football fields in size. And we got the technology together, and we, with it's a story. It's a life on its own. It's a story on its own. We developed the technology, huge dishes of 60 square meters. We developed the receiver, which can store the energy. We developed the heating up process, the discharge process, all in-house with our own team. We made simulations. We teamed up with research organizations, made simulations. We teamed up with steam specialists, made calculation for turbines, and so on and so on. And within 8 years, it took us 8 years to build the whole plant. We set up India One. It's these are 770 dishes. Just to give you an idea, we had to make 2,000 foundations. We had to build a lot of dishes, 7,000 tons of steel, 200 workers, and I have 10,000 emails in my computer. So definitely India One is a project which is like an accumulation of all our previous projects, I would say. And it was quite satisfying when this project was up and running, and everything worked well. I would say I could pat myself on the shoulder and I could say, well done, you know, sort of. And a big team, great team of our brothers here. We were about 30, 40 brothers here from the Brahma Kumaris, and a lot of engineers, a lot of specialists. And it was really a challenge financially, technology, human resources. And as I said many times, I went to our daddies, to our senior sisters. I said, Daddy, I have a problem. And Daddy says, don't worry, Daddy will help. She organized money, she gave good vibrations, and she always helped in critical moments of the project. So definitely India One was the crucial project. We are all very proud. It features thermal storage. It means we can store the energy 24 hours. And this is one of the crucial concepts which we need to store the renewable energies, because solar energy is there, wind energy is there, but to transport it and to store it are the crucial areas. So we can store in this project the energy for 24 hours. So it's a technologically seen, it's also like a breakthrough. It's an R&D project also. Yeah.
I think, brother, as you're sharing about this project, it's as if I think many of us could visualize, probably I could visualize it very clearly, how things were happening and meeting so many people. And you can sort of feel, because as you were saying, I think you started picturing all those moments. So it was lovely to hear about that. And it's a very major project. And I myself was very interested to hear about it, how that became a reality. And all throughout this conversation, there's one thing that I have taken from you, which is having faith in the power of blessings. And you've constantly, you've done so many projects, and you've spoken about this power of blessings from daddies, from up above. So that's lovely to hear. From now, as you're talking about COVID and the current situation, and you're so aware about it, where do you see your environment work going? Where do you see it going? What's next for you?
Well, you mentioned COVID, and it's actually quite interesting that there's a strong link between Corona or pandemics and also climate change, because climate change is forcing animals to mitigate, to migrate into human habitat, as well as humans. They migrate into the habitat of the animals. They go into the last corners of the jungles, etc., etc. And we come into close proximity or close contact with those wild animals. We should not have been in such close contact. At the same time, we have all these animal farms for meat production, which is very sad. And we treat our animals in a very, very inhuman, very bad manner. And all this adds to the vulnerability of humanity, that we live in such a way or do such actions. So viruses now can jump over quite easy to humans. So there is a connection between climate change and coronavirus. And you can say this pandemic is a result also of the going on climate change, because it is forcing us and forcing the animals to come closer. So of course, as I mentioned, we're in touch with many research organizations around the world, especially also with the Potsdam Climate Research Institute. They came up 2 years ago with the concept of the hothouse Earth. You can Google that, the hothouse Earth, where they say that the world, once a certain threshold has been breached, temperature automatically will readjust in a new equilibrium, which might be 2, 3, 4 degrees above what we are right now. Okay. They also talk of the tipping points in climate. You can also Google that, tipping points in climate. They identified, I think, 12 of these tipping points. And they are, and they say, when I was in Madrid, that was 2019, I think, yeah, in December, there was a very important public program in the conference with Greta Thunberg and Johan Rockström, the co-director of the Potsdam Climate Institute. And Johan Rockström said, well, you see, we have touched this tipping points and they're moving out of their balance now into a new balance. Means ice is melting now, oceans are warming up, hurricanes will increase. All these things, these bad things which have been projected in the past, they're happening right now in front of our eyes, and they happen faster than expected. So it's a very interesting question now, what to say people. Well, one thing is we should tell people the truth. We're in a very delicate situation. Climate change is happening right now. There will be no easy solution. No technology, I fear, no money, no conference, no strategy will fix it. We have to adapt towards the consequences of climate change. And therefore, it's first and foremost very, very important that we develop inner resilience and we create local networks with friends, communities around us. And we create a network because a network is much more robust than a centralized system, what we have right now, you know, where you produce this in that country, then you ship it to that country, and then you use it there. This is all very unhealthy, and that's also not very sustainable. So paradigm shift is in the pipeline. A big change of lifestyle. We all have to become vegetarian in the next years. There's no chance, otherwise climate change will be even much worse. And all the specialists, they know about it. So one thing is to tell people the truth, give them some input, what they can do in terms of lifestyle change, what helps, what is good, become vegetarian, put up renewable energy system, avoid plastic, reduce your travel pattern, look into your carbon footprint and see where you can bring down on a personal level your carbon footprint. And then comes the spiritual side, become very loving, become very detached, heighten your consciousness to a new level and become aware of the incredible potential which we have. Because as spiritual people, we know there's a very close connection between our inner world, what I feel, what I think, my emotions, and what happens in the outer world. Quantum physics even says that consciousness is part of the physical reality. And we can, through a shift in consciousness, bring a change in the quantum relation, and then even can bring a change into the physical reality. So we have an incredible potential. And I urge everybody to look into that and develop your inner strength, your inner resilience, and connect to the divine. Get yourself under the umbrella of protection and progress of the divine. And this will help you to travel this transition period in a very smooth manner. And you will be able, if you switch on your own light, you will be able to give light to other people and help them also. You can become a healer for the self, and then the healer for others, and then for the planet. And so the spiritual component is the most important, and it's the driver of everything else. And I think the sooner we all realize that and humanity goes into the direction, the better it is to resolve the current problems. They're not so big, these current problems, and we should not be fearful of what is happening right now. We should be rather loving and detached and connect to the divine and to become in a very peaceful, go in a very peaceful mindset.
You've given some really good and practical tips on how to be hopeful in this time. And you've shared about forming local groups, being more connected to people, being sustainable, being resourceful, loving, detached, and heightening our consciousness. So that was
it's all on our webpage also.
Yes, that's really great.
Yeah.
And so, brother, now would you mind leading us meditation? Because I've heard you practice really great meditation, and you also like creating meditations. So it would be our fortune if you can lead a special meditation for us.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just like to share one project in this context. We're working right now on a new platform called Yogis for the Future. And, you know, Fridays for Future, then there's Scientists for Future. So we want to create a platform called Yogis for Future, which is exclusively for meditation and is much more experience oriented. And so we're just doing the web page, and we're just looking how to host it and how to do it all. And the design and all this is going on. And so this is also part of our concept to bring spirituality into society and build a bridge. So it becomes easy for people to sort of just go on the internet and click and have a 10 minutes very nice meditation commentary and go beyond their day-to-day problems and their stress. Okay, we can do a nice meditation. And first, let me say thank you very much for this loving interview. where I could share some of the ideas which are in my mind in the last 30 years. It's always quite interesting to share for the self, when you go through all these different steps and things what happened in the past. So now we do something for the future. We all have together a meditation. And the first thing is we all take a deep breath, and then we breathe out and we let all the problems go. And we let all the tension go out of our body, and we relax ourselves and we relax our mind. We don't think about yesterday. We don't think about future. We're just in the now. And I'm concentrating in the middle of the forehead. That's where I am. I am a being of light. I am a soul. And the good thing is I'm immortal. Nothing can happen to me because I am light. I'm concentrating in the middle of the forehead. And now I connect myself to the divine light, to the supreme being, the one which is beyond. He is the spiritual sun. He is our father and he's our mother. I'm connecting to this divine light. And I can feel rays of peace, rays of strength, and rays of harmony showering upon me. Slowly this light fills me up, and I myself, I become peace, and I become light. This is my true nature. Peace, love, and light. It's very beautiful to experience these qualities through this connection with the divine. I'm now focusing towards my friends and towards my relatives and towards all human beings wherever they are. I'm sending them love and peace and light. I'm sending love, peace and light to my friends, to relatives, and to the whole world, especially in those times of Corona, where so many people are suffering, and in those days of climate change, where so many people experience the hardship. I'm sending them peace and my love and light. Now I'm focusing towards nature, towards the whole world. I'm holding the planet in my hands, the whole earth, and I can feel the suffering of nature, of trees, of the plants, of the animals, of the ocean and the earth. All the animals, all the elements are now in upheaval. Everything is changing. I'm sending peace and love to nature, to all the elements, to all the elements. May you become calm. May you be clean. And may you find back to your original stage of beauty and harmony. I'm now looking at the earth which I'm holding in my hands. And I'm sending love and light to this earth and to all the souls there. And I can see how this earth is changing into a wonderful, beautiful, harmonious, blue and green planet. How this world is changing into paradise. And I, myself, I will be there in this world of beauty and harmony. It's a fresh and new world. It's a new beginning. And I know and I understand that I can become a helper and a healer for myself, a healer for my friends, a healer for humanity, and a healer for nature, for the elements. We all together have an incredible potential to bring this change. I am peace, and I am love, and I'm connected with the divine. Nothing can happen to me. Everything will be good. A bright future is awaiting us. A new beginning. Paradise. Satyuga. Golden Age. You're all welcome to join hands. I slowly come back in this body and I feel refreshed. I feel loving and I feel peaceful. Om Shanti. Thank you very much.
Om Shanti. Thank you. That was a lovely meditation and a very inspiring journey that you've shared. One eco-yogi and so many bright ideas and so many wonderful projects. Lovely. And I hope to see all of our viewers for next week's episode. To see you next week. Thank you so much, Brother Golo. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you very much.
Shanti.
Lovely greetings from India. All the best.